Sorry, I kind of forgot to put this in the video. They do have a software for this mouse, and it is actually like ridiculously important because my mouse was set to 12 milliseconds debounce. Yeah, so probably investing and just getting the software is gonna be really good. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Yo, what is going on, guys? I'm back with another review video. It is gonna be on my Lamzu Atlantis mouse. This is easily, like, probably one of my favorite mice of the year so far, and I will tell you why. But I do want to get like some really simple things out of the way first. The unboxing experience is actually ridiculous. While normally I would never actually talk about the unboxing experience, it is kind of crazy. They have these little like flaps, and it's just like really pretty overall. The dongle goes up here and the mouse comes out here. And then on this side, it'll have like the manual. It has like a little carrying bag for the mouse and then like some other stuff. I do think that this is like easily one of the most premium experiences with just unboxing a mouse. And the fact that it's going to be sent to like everyone that's going to actually buy the mouse is pretty insane to me. Another good thing about this mouse is if you are one of the first 1,000 people to buy it, you will get a free set of glass gates. I have never been an advocate for glass gates. I feel like they are just too uncontrollable for me personally. I would much prefer a speed pad over glass gates because at least I can just change out the pad. The glass gates that I received earlier, I actually cracked trying to take off. So and the adhesive is really strong. So every time I like try to pick it out of my G Pro, I can feel the bottom plate actually coming up. I don't know why that adhesive is so strong, but it's really hard for at least for me to get off. So on to talking about the actual mouse itself. And I do want to talk about very simple things first. I do want to talk about the aesthetic of the mouse. I overall feel like the aesthetic of the mouse is just going to be really easy to mix with a lot of setups, mainly because it is white. They do have a lot of different colorways. I will link a Twitter video in the description to the other colorways that they have planned. And I do think a lot of them are really nice. I think my favorite one is probably that Miami blue where it's like a pink and like I think a similar blue. I'm going off of memory and it's pretty difficult for me to remember that, but I do think that that is my favorite colorway. The mouse itself is using Huano 80 million switches, and these feel ridiculously tactile. This is my first experience with Huano 80 mils specifically. I've tried Huano blue switches because they're in vacuum mice. I don't think I've ever heard of Huano 80 millions. I'm not a click enthusiast. All I care about are KL 8.0s, and if a mouse feels better with other switches, then great. But these feel ridiculously tactile. It could just be how they tension the mouse clicks because these feel ridiculously tactile. I didn't notice it until I think I saw Fresh Review talk about it, but he said that there's a little bit of pulse travel, which I didn't really notice in game at all, and I didn't even notice there was any until I saw that video. There is going to be a little bit of pulse travel that I cannot feel whatsoever. Speaking of pulse travel, there is a ton of pulse travel in these side buttons here. I never really noticed it because they're so snappy. I cannot exaggerate how snappy they are. I'm sure my mic is actually picking up the click itself. It is ridiculously clicky. Easily the best feeling side buttons I've ever used. And they said they're using pink dots for the side buttons, and they feel really good. Just a really quick sound test for some weirdos. In terms of the stock feet, honestly, I feel like this is probably one of the better stock feet experiences I've had on a mouse at the very least. I feel like they're very consistent. They feel a little bit like Tiger Ice feet, where I feel like the initial friction is quite low. There's pretty good stopping power depending on the pad that you use, but the glide is super, super smooth. It feels like a cloud. It feels really, really nice. In terms of the shape itself, a lot of people have been comparing it to the XM1, which I will admit do share similarities, but I do feel like in hand and especially performance, they're two completely different mice. It's pretty difficult for me to put a true side-by-side comparison, but you can kind of see that the XM1 is going to have a slightly lower hump, which I thought was kind of surprising because I felt like the XM1, especially for claw, definitely had one of the higher humps until I tried the ZA13. But I do think the biggest differences is going to be in the width. I've always felt like the XM1 has been incredibly wide, even for someone with 11 centimeter wide hands like me. I do feel like the mouse itself is much wider, which I think is why the hump area fills my palm so much better. But ever since trying the ZA13C, I have realized that I like slightly thinner mice, much more narrow, which is exactly what the Lamzu is. Most of the issues I had with the XM1 mainly being the width and the weight, because this feels much heavier, 70 grams, after using a 55-gram no-holes wireless mouse. Especially because it is thinner, I'm able to much more aggressively claw grip the mouse, which obviously will give me a lot more stability, especially when doing long flicks or even tracking scenarios in Kovacs, which I feel just comes down to knowing your preference, I do think where the indentation is also very good. It locks my fingers in place. I can't really pull any more into the mouse, although where it is allows for a lot of micro adjustments, and I think that that is very important. Although I don't micro adjust like that, I move my whole arm or wrist. I do think for the people that are honestly good enough to micro adjust at all, I feel like this is going to be a lot better, especially if they claw. In terms of the weight, I did say earlier that it is 55 grams, and I think that the weight is actually my main thing with mice now. I'm starting to realize that although certain shapes don't work for me, if they weigh very little or if they don't feel as dense as other mice do, I think I tend to perform much better with them. And I think that just comes down to me being able to control it a lot better. A really big example I can bring up is going to be the Starlight 12 Small. I do know that in my initial review, I did say that this mouse is too small for me and it was just not comfortable. Although after getting used to it, I feel like the main reason I love this mouse now is because of how lightweight it is. And I feel like light, small mice have just been like my new craze as of late, just because they feel so much easier to control and be a lot more precise with. And for the Lamzu Atlantis, I have seen some people say that they feel like it's a larger mouse. And if you weren't saying that for the XM1, it doesn't make any sense to me because I feel like the Lamzu overall is smaller, very slightly. It's not like a small mouse. I feel like it's much more medium, but I feel like the XM1 would be like a more medium to large mouse, if that makes any sense. So mainly, I feel like if you were going to get this mouse, if you love the XM1, but you wanted a slightly thinner, much more lightweight mouse, I feel like this is going to be a complete upgrade. All of the things that I didn't like with the XM1 after like a whole year of using it, I think a year and a half, because I had the XM1 and then I got the XM1R. So I think within like a year and a half of using just that shape alone, I didn't really notice how much I liked thinner mice. I'm just able to grip it a lot more aggressively and get a lot more control out of it. And I think the Lamzu is definitely what offers that. But if you just want an XM1 clone, I don't feel like this is going to be like a true to form XM1 copy, mainly because of these small, minute differences. And some people aren't able to pick up on those very small, minor changes, especially within like the size change. I feel like is very minor. I'm only able to notice it because I've used the XM1 shape for so long. So I'm able to notice if a shape is slightly similar or slightly different. And it is just ever so slightly different. The other thing too is this is only going to cost $90. That is ridiculous. I feel like the quality and the performance that you're getting from this mouse, because they're using the new 3395 that was finally able to be put in other mice, I feel like having that is just insane for that kind of price. And you are going to get like the glass gates if you're one of the first 1,000 to buy it. I don't care about glass gates. I'm not going to put it on this mouse because I always prefer PTFE, although it is a very nice addition that they are adding that alongside it. But yeah, that's pretty much all for my first impressions. This was I love this mouse. This is probably my new main. It's actually overtaken my Starlight. Maybe the 10s will take it back, but this mouse, in terms of like raw claw grip shape, is ridiculous. Coupled with the fact that it's lightweight is amazing. Although if you don't want a slightly thinner shape and you want it to be about 5 grams heavier, then you can wait for the XM2. I don't really know when this is going to release. They haven't really told me. I haven't seen it on Twitter either. However, for 90 grams, I feel like this mouse is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next upload. Peace.